Season 9 of Diablo 4 just came out a couple days ago, and I've already put a little over 30 hours into it. It's really the first time I've no life to seasons since about Season 3, so in this video I'm going to go over what I think is the good, the bad, and what you might not expect. So first, what's new? Season 9 is all about collecting and combining Horadric spells, farming Strongrooms inside Nightmare Dungeons, and taking on an escalated Nightmare Dungeon system that ends with an Astaroth boss fight. Before I get into my first impressions for Season 9, let's go over the new mechanics, which are powers. Again, this time you have Horadric powers split into 3 parts. First are Catalysts, the base spell you link to an ability. Next are Infusions, Lightning, Poison, Cold, Fire, or Shadow that set the element. Finally, Arcana, which add extra effects to your catalysts. We can also craft Horadric jewels, which this isn't a new mechanic. I remember during Season 7, the witch powers, I wasn't able to craft a single one of those, but that is no longer the case. You'll easily be able to craft 3 of them depending on whatever build you're going for, and then plenty of other ones in the future if you decide to change that build. Next is talking about Horadric Strongrooms. Season 9 takes us back to running a lot of Nightmare Dungeons, and some of those dungeons will have a Strongroom inside them. Basically, you follow this wayfinder that pops up, click on the gateway, and kill enough enemies for the portal to open. Once inside, now we're in this little micro dungeon that plays similar to the Undercity in Kurast, just a lot shorter. These strongholds are the best way to unlock Arcana, so you'll be targeting these a lot, at least during the start of the season. Also, when going through these strong rooms, you might stumble upon an escalating Nightmare Dungeon sigil. When activating this, you go through 3 different Nightmare Dungeons, one at a time, until you face the seasonal boss Astaroth from the campaign. Now, one tip for this that I found out the hard way is that if you aren't at least in Torment 1 when going through an escalating Nightmare Dungeon, you won't get to fight Astaroth. He only shows up when on Torment 1 difficulty or higher. So my recommendation is to just wait until you hit those Torment levels, and then you can earn more loot from defeating Astaroth. So those are the big changes that are different for this season. There are also new Nightmare Dungeon changes that will permanently be in future seasons, another reliquary, cosmetic stuff, but that's not as important. So now that I've talked about everything that is new in this season, what have I really enjoyed so far? And really, it's the Nightmare Dungeons. The last time I grinded them this much was maybe Season 2 or 3. Back then, Nightmare Dungeons was how you would upgrade your Paragon glyphs, and I really would only run the same 5 or 6 Nightmare Dungeons that were the fastest to complete so that I could level my glyphs faster. Dungeons like Goa Ruins and Jalal's Vigil, where the only objective was to run to the end of the dungeon to fight the boss, became my experience with running Nightmare Dungeons. Now we're actually looking for Horadric caches and going through the escalating dungeons mechanic to complete the dungeons, so it makes it more fulfilling to go through. Another thing I love about this season is how quickly I was able to earn all of the seasonal powers. Now granted, this was changed in a hotfix that the developers called a bug. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But because they did make this change, it was really easy to max out every single Catalyst, Infusion, and Arcana in well under 20 hours of playing the game. Honestly, if Blizzard had applied that hotfix on day 1, you could max out every Catalyst, Infusion, and Arcana in about 10 hours. And I know some players might see that as a negative, but this is where I'm different. I don't want to play 100 hours every season in Diablo 4. There are so many other games I have in my backlog, and I don't enjoy grinding the same thing over and over, like I'm a streamer who plays games 10 hours a day, every day. I'm perfectly fine with putting 20, 30, even 40 hours into a 3-month season, and then calling it a day and picking up the game again when the next season hits. And I want to end this section by saying that Diablo 4 is still a good game. The controls, the sound, the surrounding world is something I've never noticed in other ARPGs. I urge you to go play another ARPG and come back, especially these newer ones. And I don't want to bash them on this video, but if you check out my channel, I've made videos on them. Go play one of those for 10 hours, 20 hours, and then come back to Diablo 4. It is night and day how polished this game is. I know it's a meme to hate on Diablo 4 and a lot of people complain online, but just because you're bored that you've played a game for over 1,000 hours doesn't mean it's a bad game. Now, just because I don't think it's a bad game doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of work Blizzard could be doing to make it better. The first thing, and let me just put my tinfoil hat on for a second, I'm so tired of Blizzard acting like a game design choice was a quote-unquote bug. So for the first couple days after the season launched, Arcana just wasn't dropping at all. I was 20 hours into the game, already in Torment difficulty, and I'd only found 4 Arcana. There was a huge uproar on Reddit about the abysmal drop rates, and then, just like clockwork, Blizzard dropped a hotfix saying, quote, "Bug fixes, the drop rate for Arcana in Horadric Strongrooms has been significantly increased." And then after this fix, it literally took me less than 4 hours to find every other Arcana power and fully max them to level 5, which honestly I think is great for someone who wants to spend 30 hours in a season and then move on to other games. But when you look at how fast the progression is after the patch, there's no way that this was ever intended to be the normal rate. You just get through the levels way too quickly, especially because they only max out at level 5. And yeah, I get it, it's kind of a silly thing to complain about because it was patched on day 2 and it isn't technically an issue anymore. It's just, stop being dishonest, Blizzard. It feels like if you're not a content creator or someone who has to play this game on day 1, you're better off just waiting until day 4 or 5 when everything is patched. You'll save yourself a lot of frustration in the long run. Now, getting into issues that are actually still in the game, man, I really am not a fan of tempering. I hate that I have a 1 out of 3 chance to get the affix I want, and then 7 rolls later, I still don't get it. Never mind the fact that I can't control what value I get on the roll, I'm just trying to hit the damn affix. It's one of the worst feelings to find an item with 2 or 3 greater affixes I want, and then just brick it and now I have to salvage it. There's just no safety net or progression system here. For powers themselves, it feels like a downgrade compared to last season. In Season 8, we had the boss powers, which were actually memorable. Durio's Burrow and Lilith's Spike Wave are abilities we've been seeing for over 2 years, so it was cool to finally use them ourselves. Honestly, with Season 9, I don't even know what half the powers do. I just know that I have a purple gem, plus a red, blue, and yellow arcana, and that's about it. There's no excitement in the combinations, at least from what I've seen so far. I do like the changes to the Nightmare Dungeon affixes, but once your character gets faster, stopping to pick up Horadrim knowledge starts to feel clunky. It completely breaks the pacing, and half the time I just skip them instead of going back, picking it up, and then running forward again. There still isn't a solution to Diablo 4's endgame problem. It's basically run the pit over and over because it's the best way to level and the only way to upgrade your glyphs. Or you just spend your time farming bosses endlessly, hoping a mythic drops. Lastly, there were seasonal journey quests that were bugged. For me, it was complete local events with mastery and escalating nightmares. I would complete them, but the counter would never go up. Now, this was an actual bug that got fixed, so yay for that. But honestly, it just reinforces my earlier point. If you don't absolutely have to play on day 1, you're better off on waiting 4 or 5 days for the patches to roll in. Now, I don't want to just sit here and whine without offering any solutions, so I'll give it a shot. For tempering, just let us infinitely temper an item with costs increasing every time, exactly how enchanting works. The solution is literally already in the game, just use it. For the yellow Horadrim knowledge orbs that slow you down when you're speedrunning dungeons, make them automatically picked up, like the attunement in the Undercity events, or just let our pets grab them. Make leveling into endgame less reliant on the pit. It shouldn't feel mandatory to grind the same activity over and over just to unlock Torment 3 and 4. Probably the last 8 out of 10 hours I've spent playing Diablo 4 is just running the pit over and over to level up my character. And for escalating nightmare dungeons, why just stop it at 3 tiers? Give players an optional choice to keep going further and further with crazier mutagens and rewards you can only get by pushing higher after defeating Astaroth. Make it a gamble, like if you think you can survive the next dungeon tier without dying 3 times, go for it. If you don't complete it, then you lose all the loot you would have got. So, I don't know, I'm not a game designer, I'm just a guy who's put thousands of hours into this game because I want it to be the best version of itself. So overall, it's still the same old Diablo 4. There were some solid improvements to the overall game, specifically with Nightmare Dungeons, but Blizzard still can't stop drip-feeding content. We probably won't see any big changes happening in Diablo 4 until the next expansion comes out in 2026, so for now it's just going to be a new Helltide color and different powers every few months. At this point, you pretty much know what you're getting, so whether that's enough is really up to you. If you've been playing Season 9, I'd love to hear your take in the comments, and if you found this helpful, consider subscribing. I'll have more content coming soon.